All right, so welcome back, and let's talk about our immune system. So basically, your immune system is keeping you safe, and we have two sort of main lines of defense. It's a first line and then a secondary line. And even in the secondary line or second line, we'll have two sort of subdivisions of that. But basically, the first line defense is considered nonspecific because it guards equally well against broad range of different pathogens, microbes, and the effectiveness does not depend on prior exposure. We'll see that in the second line, the innate immunity is also nonspecific. However, adaptive immunity is exactly that. It adapts and responds accordingly to specific antigens. All right, the first line of defense. Well, the first part is simply mechanical protection. Let's prevent anything from getting inside of you in the first place. So the first thing is your skin, your epidermis, right? If you remember, it is keratinized, stratified squamous epithelium. That keratin is very good at keeping things from being able to get through that layer. The fact that we shed cells throughout the day, microbes just simply fall off due to that. The mucous membrane, so our nose, our throat, whatever, anything that's producing mucus will trap microbes in that mucus. Most of the time, these membranes will also have some sort of cilia that will move the microbes toward the back of the throat, either back toward the throat or up to the top of the throat, if it's in your trachea, for example. And then you just naturally swallow throughout the day, and usually your stomach acids will destroy any of those microbes. Similarly, the washing action of tears, just your normal blinking production of tears throughout the day, the flushing of your urethra with urine, and even saliva just throughout the day just washes away microbes. And then there's also some chemical protection. Sebum, remember your sebaceous glands in your skin, it has an antimicrobial in it that prevents the growth of bacteria and fungi. Sweat, again, simply washes away microbes from the surface of your skin. There are also enzymes called lysozymes found in your tears that break down the cell membranes of bacteria. And then your gastric, your stomach juices, vaginal secretions, and usually the interior, the urethra is also usually acidic. All of that will, again, destroy bacteria and help prevent infections. Now, it's not perfect. Obviously, we get UTIs. Sometimes microbes get into our digestive tract, create ulcers. But the fact that it doesn't happen all the time means that it's working pretty well. Okay, so that was our first line of defense. So basically, all of these things are kind of trying to keep microbes from ever getting inside of our bodies. What about our second line of defense then? So now we have things, it's gotten past that first line, and now it's, again, inside of us. So what we have, fortunately, multiple types of antimicrobial substances. So the definition there is simply these are proteins that discourage microbial growth. They're antimicrobial. Okay, the first one are something called, there's a class of them called interferons, and as the name suggests, these are going to interfere with a virus's ability to replicate or divide. There are something called complement proteins. There's a number of these, and these will simply enhance immune reactions. There are iron-binding proteins. We saw, remember, transferrin and ferritin when we're talking about recycling of red blood cells. These inhibit the growth of bacteria by reducing the amount of available iron. Then there's also a class of something called antimicrobial proteins. These are broad spectrum antimicrobials, but for whatever reason, microbes don't develop a resistance, which is interesting. So examples of that are dermcidin, thrombocidin. Dermcidin is in your skin, and thrombocidin is produced by platelets, thrombocytes. Natural killer cells. These are, as the name suggests, cells that are going to kill infected cells or microbes that they find. So they are continuously patrolling the body, so you can find them in the blood, spleen, lymph nodes, or in the red bone marrow. And they'll kill a variety of different types of microbes, as well as even tumors, so again, any cancerous cells. And what you're seeing in this image is, in this case, there's a receptor, and this is a normal cell, so here's your natural killer cell on the left. It recognizes the cell, and it has this inhibitory receptor, that there is a receptor on the normal cell that says, no, inhibit, don't kill me, I should be here. Now, on a target cell, whatever this might be, it does not have that MHC1, and we'll talk about that MHC1s in a bit. Fear not, we'll talk about them quite a bit. So because it doesn't have that inhibitory MHC1, it doesn't get the signal to not kill the cell, so it will therefore target the cell. And it does this by using proteins called perforins. As again, that name implies, they perforate the cell membrane. If you don't know what perforate means, it means it's poking holes in the cell membrane, and then it's going to release granzymes, which will get through those holes and cause the cell to undergo apoptosis. Another part of the second line of defense are phagocytic cells. So these are simply cells that are going to gobble up foreign microbes. So here's just a drawing. This is an actual cell that really just kind of gobbles up these smaller microbes that look like, what are they called? Red Hot candies? Kind of what that looks like. But anyway, they are attracted due to either the chemical cues produced by damaged cells or tissues, those complement proteins I mentioned a little while ago, or sometimes microbes will release chemicals, and these phagocytic cells can detect that. They then adhere to it, so basically they stick to it, they attach to it, they ingest it, and then they basically digest it, and then exude any residual parts. There's also inflammation. Usually the damaged cell will initiate this, and by having inflammation occur, it's not always a bad thing. Like very strong inflammation or prolonged inflammation can be a problem, but it does serve an important purpose. First of all, it traps microbes or toxins or whatever it might be, and it helps start tissue repair. So that vasodilation that's occurring during inflammation that gives that red appearance to the blood vessels is going to basically allow for more white blood cells to get through, to get to that area, provide it with the damaged tissue with more building blocks to rebuild itself, all of that. But again, it happens fairly quickly. The area, like if you probably know this is something, if you have inflammation somewhere, it's usually hot, red, there's edema, again, as things are leaking into that area. Again, things are there to help trap those microbes. Those phagocytes are going to get there pretty quickly. The neutrophils and monocytes arrive, and then tissue repair is going to occur. Fevers, also not necessarily a bad thing. It depends on how high the fever actually is. Basically, a fever is simply abnormally high body temperature. Your hypothalamus is the one that is sort of your body's thermostat, and it is being stimulated by something called interleukin-1. Basically, that will tell the hypothalamus to increase your thermostat of your body. So instead of having a 98.6 body temperature, it might be more appropriate to have it at 101 for a little while. Fevers will help intensify the effects of interferons, again, the protein that interferes with viral replication. It will prevent bacteria from growing, as well as it speeds up tissue repair. So again, fevers are not necessarily bad unless they are particularly high or last for a long period of time. All right, so that was our innate immunity, our first line and our second line of defense. Please let me know if you have any questions, and we're going to move on to adaptive immunity.